Jada Brooks had seen more than her share of battles both on distant, rugged battlefields and in the quieter yet equally challenging skirmishes of everyday life. A high-ranking military officer renowned for her brilliant strategic mind and unyielding courage, Jada had recently returned from a grueling tour of duty overseas. The scars of war, both visible and invisible, had only fueled her commitment to serve and protect her country. Yet on this particular warm weekend afternoon, she longed for nothing more than a brief escape from the burdens of command, a moment to relish the simple act of shopping for everyday necessities at a local supermarket in the vibrant suburban enclave of Meadowbrook. Before diving deeper into this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know where you're watching from, and if stories like this resonate with you, consider subscribing to my channel. Tomorrow, I have another special story waiting for you. The supermarket, a charming establishment with neon signs and a nostalgic feel reminiscent of old American diners, was a haven where community and commerce intermingled. Its aisles brimmed with the colors and scents of fresh produce, baked goods, and an array of eclectic items that evoked the best of Americana. Dressed in a modest ensemble, a crisp white blouse, well-worn blue jeans, and comfortable sneakers, Jada blended seamlessly with the everyday shoppers. To the untrained eye, she appeared as just another customer, yet, beneath that unassuming exterior lay a record of commanding hundreds of soldiers and a legacy of honor that few could imagine. As Jada strolled through the aisles, her eyes sparkled with the quiet satisfaction of a warrior finding peace in the mundane. The soft hum of the air conditioning and the gentle background music, punctuated by occasional familiar pop hits, lent the environment a relaxed, almost cinematic quality. With each item she carefully selected fresh fruit, artisan bread, and even a special jar of pickles from a local brand. She embraced a fleeting moment of normalcy, a brief respite from the relentless demands of duty. However, normalcy proved to be elusive that day. At the far end of one bustling aisle, Jada's attention was caught by a scene that defied the decorum expected in a public space. A police officer, whose uniform was as immaculate as his demeanor was insufferably condescending, was nonchalantly wandering among the shelves. Officer Chase Monroe, tall with a rigid posture and short, meticulously styled hair, moved with an air of entitlement. As he picked up a pack of noodles and a bottle of soda, he carelessly allowed them to tumble from his grasp. Instead of bending down to retrieve the fallen items, he cast a dismissive glance over his shoulder and strode away, as if such minor inconveniences were beneath him. Jada paused, her senses immediately alert. Trained to notice every detail on and off the battlefield, she observed the incident with a mixture of disappointment and steely resolve. The responsibility to uphold honor was ingrained in her very being, and she found it impossible to ignore such blatant disregard for basic decency. In a calm yet firm tone, she approached Officer Monroe. "Excuse me, officer," she began, her voice measured and authoritative. "I believe you dropped something. It might be a good idea to pick it up, so as not to inconvenience others." Monroe's eyes narrowed as he turned to face her. His gaze was cold and dismissive, as if assessing her not as an equal, but as an inconvenience in his meticulously ordered world. "Who do you think you are?" he retorted with a sneer that dripped disdain. "I don't have time to be lectured by someone like you." For a brief moment, the atmosphere in the aisle thickened with tension. Other shoppers, their faces etched with curiosity and concern, began to edge away while discreetly recording the exchange on their smartphones. Jada, unflinching and resolute, maintained her composure even as his words struck her like a poorly aimed bullet. "I am merely suggesting a courtesy that any officer should extend," she replied coolly. "After all, the uniform you wear commands respect, and that respect should be reflected in every action, however small." But Officer Monroe's demeanor only darkened further. His voice, now laced with unmistakable hostility and a hint of venom, escalated. "Don't tell me how to do my job," he barked, his tone rising in pitch and malice. "You have no right, especially not as a black woman, to instruct me on manners or responsibilities. Why don't you just stay in your lane and leave the big decisions to those who actually know what they're doing?" The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Shoppers exchanged shocked glances as murmurs of disbelief rippled through the aisle. Jada felt a surge of indignation, but years of training and personal experience had taught her the value of restraint. Instead of lashing out, she allowed her voice to resonate with quiet authority. "Officer Monroe, if I may be so frank," she said, her tone imbued with a calm but unmistakable warning, "your words not only insult me personally but also betray a failure to uphold the values that should define your service. I would urge you to reconsider your approach before matters escalate further." Monroe's eyes flashed with a mix of arrogance and barely concealed fury. "You think you can lecture me, do you?" he spat, crossing his arms defiantly. "You're just another black woman who thinks she's above the rest, someone who, without any real authority, believes she can change the system. I'm the law here, and you're nothing more than an annoyance." At that moment, a heavy silence descended upon the supermarket, punctuated only by the soft beeps of checkout scanners and the rustling of shopping bags. Jada's heart pounded, but her face remained impassive. Every fiber of her being reminded her of the countless battles she had fought on distant battlefields, where discipline and composure were the keys to survival. This was no different, only the stakes were different, and the enemy wore a badge. Despite her measured calm, the situation took an unexpected and dangerous turn. In a brazen act of intimidation, Officer Monroe's hand darted to his side and produced a gleaming firearm from its holster. The metallic glint of the gun, contrasted sharply with the warm, inviting hues of the supermarket, sent a jolt of fear through the onlookers. His voice, now trembling with a mix of bravado and desperation, boomed over the hushed murmurs, "I warn you, misstep away right now, or you'll regret it." The display of raw power stunned everyone present. Shoppers froze in place, some instinctively backing away, others clutching their phones as if to document what could only be described as a gross abuse of authority. Jada's mind raced, but her demeanor did not falter. Years of experience had taught her that panic was a luxury she could ill afford. Slowly, deliberately, she reached for her phone, a device that had become an unexpected ally in the fight for justice. With a calm resolve, she dialed a number and pressed the call button. "Mayor Reynolds," she said in a quiet yet firm voice as soon as the line connected. "This is Jada Brooks. I need you to come to Meadowbrook immediately. There's a serious situation unfolding at the Central Market." There was a pause on the other end of the line, a brief silence that stretched, laden with the weight of unspoken concerns. "Hold on, ma'am," the mayor replied. "I'm on my way." For what felt like an eternity, Jada and Officer Monroe faced off in a battle of wills amid the silent stares of the onlookers. The contrast between Monroe's trembling hand and Jada's unyielding gaze was a stark reminder of the imbalance of power, a power misused and twisted by prejudice and arrogance. "You just made a huge mistake," Jada said softly, her eyes locked onto his, conveying a promise of accountability that resonated far beyond the confines of the supermarket. Officer Monroe's response was nothing more than a bitter laugh. "Mistake? I'm a cop, and I'm in control here," he retorted, though his voice betrayed a hint of uncertainty as he realized that the momentum was shifting against him. Just then, the sound of a car horn sliced through the tension, a deep, commanding rumble that signaled the arrival of authority. The automatic doors of the supermarket swung open, and in stepped Mayor Marcus Reynolds, a figure known for his integrity and unwavering commitment to justice. With broad shoulders and a confident stride, Mayor Reynolds exuded calm authority as he surveyed the scene. His presence brought with it an air of hope and the promise that fairness would prevail. "Officer Monroe, step away from the lady immediately," Mayor Reynolds commanded, his voice carrying an undeniable authority. The moment his words filled the space, a palpable shift occurred. Monroe hesitated, his eyes darting between the mayor and the resolute figure of Jada Brooks. For the first time, his bravado wavered as the full force of accountability bore down upon him. "Mayor Reynolds," Monroe stammered, his tone now laced with apprehension rather than arrogance, "this is just a misunderstanding." His attempt at deflection fell flat in the face of the mayor's unwavering stare and the weight of evidence silently amassed by the ever-watching crowd. Without missing a beat, Mayor Reynolds turned his attention to the onlookers. "I've seen the footage," he announced, addressing a young woman who had been recording the incident from a distance. "Every word, every action is documented. Officer, your behavior is completely unacceptable. You have not only endangered a respected military officer but have also tarnished the badge you wear." His voice resonated with a blend of stern authority and compassion, a combination that had earned him respect throughout Meadowbrook. The crowd, now emboldened by the mayor's intervention, murmured in agreement. Shoppers, who had been mere bystanders moments before, now felt the collective surge of justice. Some clapped, while others offered words of encouragement to Jada, whose unyielding stand had become a beacon of hope. Officer Monroe's face drained of color as the reality of his situation set in. His hand, which had once confidently brandished the firearm, now trembled as he slowly lowered it. I didn't mean to," he began, but Mayor Reynolds cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Save your excuses," he said. "You will be suspended immediately, and a full investigation into your actions will be launched. This kind of behavior has no place in our community." As the police officers moved in to escort Officer Monroe out of the supermarket, the tension in the air began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of cautious relief. Jada Brooks stood tall amidst it all, her eyes never leaving the mayor's as she silently conveyed her gratitude and resolve. The incident had not only exposed the deep-seated prejudice that still lingered in the corridors of power but had also ignited a spark that promised to grow into a roaring flame of reform. In the hours and days that followed, the story of Jada Brooks and Officer Chase Monroe spread like wildfire across social media and local news outlets. The video recording of the incident, capturing every heated exchange and every moment of defiance, resonated deeply with the public. Comments poured in, not just from those who had experienced similar indignities but also from individuals inspired by Jada's courage. The narrative was clear: an ordinary day had been transformed into a defining moment of accountability and justice. For Jada, the incident became a catalyst for further reflection on the state of society. In the quiet moments after the ordeal, as she sat on the porch of her modest home in Meadowbrook with a steaming cup of coffee in hand, she pondered the many challenges that still lay ahead. "I've faced enemy fire and unimaginable horrors on distant battlefields," she mused quietly to herself, "but nothing shakes me quite like the betrayal of trust by those who are supposed to protect us." Her thoughts wandered to the countless stories of injustice and prejudice that had marked her own life, each one a testament to the enduring struggle for equality and respect. Over the next few weeks, Mayor Marcus Reynolds took decisive action. He organized community meetings and town halls where citizens could share their experiences and demand transparency from local law enforcement. In one memorable session held in the renovated town hall adorned with vintage Americana memorabilia and posters of classic baseball legends, the mayor and local activists discussed sweeping reforms. "This isn't just about one incident," he declared, his voice resonant and firm. "It's about building a future where every person, regardless of their background, is treated with the dignity they deserve." During one of these meetings, a local teacher, known for her humorous quips and warm smile, joked, "We're here to fix a system that's more outdated than my grandma's rotary phone." The room erupted in laughter, a brief, cathartic moment that underscored the importance of humor in healing collective wounds. Even Jada allowed herself a small smile, appreciating the levity amid the gravity of their mission. As investigations into Officer Monroe's actions unfolded, Jada found herself approached by individuals from all walks of life: civic leaders, fellow veterans, and everyday citizens, each one eager to join the movement for change. Among them was a spirited young activist named Tasha Reed, whose fiery determination reminded Jada of her younger self. "You showed us what it means to stand up," Tasha said one afternoon as they sat in a bustling cafe decorated with retro Americana flair. "I want to be a part of this movement, to make sure that no one ever has to feel invisible or unheard again." Jada's eyes gleamed with pride as she listened, knowing that the seeds of transformation were being sown in the hearts of those who believed in justice. The ripple effects of that fateful afternoon extended far beyond Meadowbrook. Local news outlets ran headlines that blazed across the front pages: "Officer suspended after racist threat at Central Market" and "Heroic stand by military officer inspires reform." Social media hashtags, such as #StandWithJada and #JusticeForAll, trended nationwide. Public figures, celebrities, and even musicians with ties to the community, some jokingly referencing the incident in their songs, joined the chorus calling for systemic change. Late-night talk show hosts made quips that cleverly balanced humor with pointed social commentary, reminding viewers that while laughter could ease the pain, real progress required persistent effort. In one particularly poignant interview on a popular news program, Jada reflected on her long career. "I've learned that leadership isn't just about commanding in the field," she explained, her voice steady and thoughtful. "It's about standing up for what's right, even when it means standing alone against those who abuse their power. Today, I'm not just representing myself, I'm representing every person who has ever been marginalized or disrespected." Her words resonated deeply with audiences, sparking conversations in living rooms and boardrooms across the country. Meanwhile, the investigation into Officer Monroe uncovered layers of misconduct that went far beyond the incident at the supermarket. Testimonies from colleagues, internal memos, and surveillance footage revealed a pattern of behavior that had been quietly festering for years. The department, under intense public pressure, began a rigorous internal review, and sweeping changes were implemented to ensure greater accountability and cultural sensitivity. Officers underwent new training programs that blended traditional law enforcement techniques with lessons in empathy, community engagement, and the importance of diversity. One training session, complete with humorous reenactments of outdated practices, became an unexpected hit, serving as both a cautionary tale and a hopeful blueprint for reform. Throughout these turbulent times, Jada remained a pillar of strength and grace. Despite the unexpected fame and the constant media scrutiny, she continued her work with a quiet determination. Whether she was mentoring young recruits, speaking at community events, or simply sharing a moment of reflection with an old friend over a slice of New York-style pizza, she never lost sight of her mission: to ensure that justice and respect were not just ideals, but realities for every citizen. In the months that followed, Meadowbrook itself began to transform. The supermarket, once a mere backdrop for an ordinary shopping trip, became a symbol of community resilience. Neighbors organized regular town gatherings, and murals celebrating unity and courage began to appear on the walls of local buildings. One particularly striking mural depicted a vibrant phoenix rising from a sea of broken chains, a powerful metaphor for the renewal that the community so desperately craved. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Jada stood before a gathering at the town square. The crowd was diverse, a tapestry of age, race, and background, united by the belief that the future could be better than the past. Mayor Reynolds took the stage first, his voice resonant and hopeful as he recounted the events that had spurred the change. "This isn't just a story about one woman's courage," he declared, "it's a story about all of us, about the power of a community to stand together against injustice." Jada then stepped forward. In her speech, she recalled not only the painful moments of discrimination and abuse but also the strength and dignity that had carried her through. "There have been days when the weight of injustice felt unbearable," she admitted, her voice soft yet determined, "but I've also witnessed the beauty of human kindness, the laughter shared over simple meals, and the relentless hope that binds us all together." Her words were punctuated by gentle humor, a reference to the famously overrated yet beloved taste of deep dish pizza and the quirky charm of small-town diners that brought smiles and nods of recognition from the crowd. As the evening progressed, the event evolved into a celebration of community spirit. Local musicians performed, their soulful tunes interwoven with the rhythms of modern beats, creating an atmosphere that was at once nostalgic and forward-looking. Children danced around, their laughter echoing as a reminder that even in the midst of struggle, there was room for joy and renewal. Jada's eyes sparkled as she looked out over the sea of faces, each one a testament to the enduring power of unity and hope. The legacy of that fateful day at the supermarket would live on for years to come. Jada Brooks' courageous stand had not only exposed the deep-rooted prejudices that threatened to undermine the very fabric of society but had also ignited a movement that embraced accountability, empathy, and the belief that every individual had the right to dignity and respect. Officer Chase Monroe's downfall became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that power must always be wielded with responsibility and humility. In quiet moments of reflection, Jada often found herself revisiting the incident in her mind, the way the fluorescent lights of the supermarket had flickered like the heartbeat of a nation struggling to find its moral center, the expressions of fear and hope on the faces of onlookers, and the resolute tone in Mayor Reynolds' voice as he declared that justice would prevail. These recollections served as both a burden and a blessing, a reminder of the pain inflicted by intolerance and the promise of a brighter future forged through collective effort. Even as reforms took root and the department began to transform, the emotional toll of that day lingered. Jada's nights were sometimes haunted by memories of the standoff, the metallic gleam of the gun, and the cold, cutting words of Officer Monroe. Yet, rather than succumb to bitterness, she chose to channel that pain into a relentless pursuit of positive change. She became an outspoken advocate for policy reform, speaking at conferences, writing thoughtful op-eds, and mentoring a new generation of leaders who believed in the power of justice and compassion. Her journey, marked by both personal sacrifice and public triumph, resonated far beyond Meadowbrook. Across the country, communities began to emulate Meadowbrook's example, organizing their own forums and workshops on police accountability and cultural sensitivity. Social media buzzed with stories of local heroes who had stood up against injustice, each narrative interwoven with the themes of resilience, unity, and the enduring American spirit. In one memorable instance, during an interview on a nationally televised program, Jada quipped with a characteristic blend of humor and gravitas, "I've fought on battlefields where every decision could mean life or death, but nothing prepared me for the battle in a supermarket aisle. At least there, the only enemy was bad manners, and I always carry extra napkins." Her light-hearted remark, delivered with a wry smile, struck a chord with viewers, serving as a reminder that even in the gravest of circumstances, a touch of humor could bridge divides and inspire hope. As the seasons turned and the scars of injustice slowly began to heal, Jada Brooks remained a steadfast beacon of integrity. Her story was one of transformation, a testament to the fact that the courage to stand up against tyranny, no matter how small the stage, could spark a movement capable of reshaping the very foundations of society. And though the road ahead was fraught with challenges, Jada's unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and the dignity of every individual ensured that her legacy would endure. In the twilight of a crisp winter's day, as the first snowflakes began to fall gently over Meadowbrook, Jada walked along a quiet street lined with holiday lights and familiar storefronts. The air was filled with the soft strains of a distant caroling choir, and the city's festive spirit mingled with the quiet resolve of a community that had learned to stand together against adversity. In that serene moment, she reflected on how far they had come, a journey marked by pain, loss, and the bittersweet triumph of human spirit. The story of Jada Brooks, Officer Chase Monroe, and Mayor Marcus Reynolds is more than just a chronicle of a single confrontation. It is a living, breathing narrative of the American experience. It is the story of how everyday heroes emerge in the face of injustice, how communities can rally to demand accountability, and how the courage of one person can ignite a transformation that reverberates through generations. It is a story that will linger in the hearts of those who have witnessed it, a reminder that the fight for a fair and just society is a continuous journey, one that requires bravery, compassion, and a willingness to stand up for what is right, even when the odds seem insurmountable. And so, as the lights of Meadowbrook glimmered softly in the fading dusk, the legacy of that fateful afternoon at the Central Market lived on, a legacy of strength, hope, and the unwavering belief that every person, regardless of their background, deserves to be treated with dignity. Jada Brooks had not only defended her own honor that day but had also illuminated a path for countless others, ensuring that the echoes of injustice would be met with a resounding call for reform, accountability, and a better tomorrow. Thank you for joining in this unforgettable journey of courage, resilience, and transformation. May this story inspire you to stand tall in the face of adversity, to fight for what is right, and to never lose sight of the power of compassion and justice in our shared human experience.